All right. So we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining tonight. This is the first time we've done anything like this. And, I just thought the last few times I did discovery calls with potential Master the Media clients, and I was able to help them envision that future version of themselves, whether they join Master the Media or not. And I just thought, why don't we do a big version of this where I can help as many of you guys as possible within the next 2 hours. So welcome. I'm Amy Gorin. I'm a plant-based registered dietitian and CEO of Master the Media. And really tonight is just for me to help you figure out ways that you can earn $50,000 or more in the next 6 months. And I also am here to answer any questions you have about working with the media and working with brands. So the way that this is going to work, if you guys can rename yourselves with your credentials, and that way I'll try and call on as many different types of situations and practitioners as possible. That way, if I don't get to everyone, that way at least hopefully someone else's question or situation is applicable to yours. If you're wondering how to rename yourself, there's a little toggle on the upper right of your video, and you just click on that and you click on rename. And then really, I'm just going to call on you guys and talk you through any questions that you have, and also just help paint the picture of what earning $50,000 in brand partnerships can look like for you. So if you want to raise your virtual hand, I will call on as many of you as possible. Don't be shy. I know, Lisa, and then Baron. Okay. Yeah, you can just unmute yourselves to go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so what can I tell you? What would be helpful?
Yeah, so tell me, what you're doing now, what you want to be doing, what your goals are.
Okay, so I am a physician, I'm certified in lifestyle medicine, but my focus now is helping women physicians actually through burnout, career transitions, and that type of thing. So I'm not quite sure how this would fit in that realm.
Yeah, and are you in private practice or do you work for an organization?
Privately.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and tell me, just off the top of your head, what are some products, and it can be even general, like, that you recommend to your patients?
Oh, so I don't work clinically.
Oh, so yeah, that actually makes it even more, I don't want to say more doable, but you definitely can talk about, okay, like just tell, I want to paint the picture for you. So what are some products that you use in your personal life?
Oatmeal. I have oatmeal every single day.
Yeah. Okay. So let's run with that. So just to kind of show you how it works to work with brands, there are in front of the scenes partnerships, there's behind the scenes partnerships. So say, for instance, there's an oatmeal brand that you love. You could end up partnering with a brand, showing a day in the life video of you eating your oatmeal and having your morning routine and how that's helpful for fiber and heart health. And maybe you're talking about, perimenopausal women or menopausal women who that's super impactful for. Maybe there's the brand of oatmeal that you like. So what we teach in Master the Media is how to find kind of the pain points of the brand and what they're missing. So say you go onto their website and they don't have any scientific information or any anything like that. So that's something that you could reach out to them and be like, hey, love your product, but I don't see any studies about why oatmeal is beneficial, or any healthcare practitioner toolkit, which is usually a download that a brand will have in their science section or healthcare practitioner section. And that's something that's a lot of brands don't know about, but you can help the brand create that. Those types of projects pay somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000. Do you like to go on camera and like talk on TV potentially?
Yeah, I'd be open to that.
Yeah, so that's something else that a lot of brands are really interested in right now. So if you say, hey, I have a connection with my local station, and that's something that we help you with within Master the Media, is figuring out how to get those connections. What you can do is what's called a sponsored TV segment, where you're going on camera, let's just pretend it was the Super Bowl yesterday. And you're like, hey, here's 3 heart healthy recipes that you can make with 3 ingredients. And then, for instance, you could get Quaker Oats to sponsor that segment. And you just talking about the benefits of oatmeal and showing their product for that could pay anywhere between $1,500 and $5,000 or more. So what happens when you're working with brands is you're not doing just one of these things. You're, collaborating with the brand to do potentially everything that we just mentioned. And that's how you get those big partnerships. Does that help, or do you want to clarify anything?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. But for some reason, I was thinking about maybe written, in like print, those types of things. Is that something like
absolutely
to get your foot in the door there just seems, I don't know.
Yeah. So that's something that it's interesting. There's some deliverables, so things that you do for brands that kind of come in style and go out of style and come back in style. And so blog posts on brands' websites, they were kind of out of style for a while. And now we're seeing a lot of our Master of the Media students actually do partnerships with brands where they get paid to write, so it could be 5 reasons oatmeal is heart healthy, and it goes onto the brand's website. So let's say Quaker Oats in this instance, you're getting paid quite a bit of money, usually $2 to $3 a word, for you to write that content for the website and you to have your name on that as the writer. And the brands like that because you have that authority that's trustworthy. Also recipes, if that's something that you like to create, a lot of brands are looking for that, where you create the recipe, you can take pictures of it, you can maybe even do the nutritional analysis, and that can also go on their website or their social media or even on a printout that they're handing out at a trade show.
Got it. Okay, yeah, thank you. No, that's very helpful.
You're welcome. All right, welcome guys. I see a lot of you coming in. So if you haven't already, if you can rename yourself with your credentials, just so I can call on as many of you as possible. And then raise your hand if you have a question. And I'm just gonna go through, try and coach as many of you as possible. So Baron, I know you had a question about conflict of interest.
Hi, I'm actually in Canada, Toronto, Ontario. Basically, my question is more related to our college is super strict, and I work in more in a primary care, with a physician clinic, and also I have private practice. So both private practice is recent, to be honest, starting new. And I was wondering because to be honest, I know, like there are a lot of supplement companies and then especially like probiotics, those omega-3 companies that reaches out to us to say, here's our products, tell about us. And the thing is, I mean, if the patient is vegetarian and such, I have a lot of vegetarian or like vegan, like not vegan, but no eggs patients. So omega-3 is one of the things that they require. Vitamin D is another one. There are like a couple supplements that they needed truly. So, but because of the conflict of interest and such, even if I think the thing is there, it's I don't know. Like I'm afraid of my college because I to be honest, I'm all about being ethical, but I don't exactly know because it's a bit tricky with our college.
Yeah, so this is actually something that comes up quite a bit within Master of the Media and in different ways. It could either be someone who's working for a hospital or someone who's working for a brand. For instance, we once had a dietitian who worked in-house at Dole. And so the thing that I always advise to do is just to be very transparent with your employer. So that might literally be going to whoever your HR person is or your boss and saying, hey, I want to start working with the media. I want to start working with brands. Is that something that is allowed? And they might say you can work with, produce, but you can't work with supplements, or vice versa. Or maybe they'll say you can work with anything. You can also frame it in a way that's really, helpful for them. Like, hey, I want to do this media training that would really benefit you. So, if any media opportunities come up where the university needs someone to talk to the media about healthy tacos or why plums are nutritious, I would be media trained and ready to go. And so that way it looks like something that is really beneficial for them as well as for you.
When I say college, just I want to clarify, it's not as in post-secondary, I mean College of Dietitians.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So,
Sorry.
I understand now. So you're asking as just kind of a practicing dietitian in Canada. So that actually makes it easier. So we have worked with, I don't know, dozens of dietitians who live in Canada within Master the Media. And there's no, you are allowed as a dietitian in the US or Canada to recommend brands, through the media, through doing social media partnerships. The ethical part of it that comes into play is that you're only working with a brand. And when I say a brand, like there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of brands that you can work with. Some of them are very great products, and some of them, maybe it's a supplement that's not third-party tested, and that might be something that you don't want to work with. But within Master the Media, for instance, right now, when you enroll, you get Brand Partnership School for free, and Brand Partnership School is an add-on that has 3,400 different contacts for brands that you can reach out to. And so my point is there's a lot of different brands out there. Some, I don't want to work with, some you won't want to work with. And the brands that I don't want to work with are the ones that are personal to me. Like, I'm a plant-based dietitian. So would it make sense for me to work with pork or beef? Maybe, like if there's a way for me to talk about how my family can have a balanced meal because my husband and my daughter eat those foods. But if they want me to make a recipe with pork, probably not. Same thing with sugar alcohols. Like I personally don't stomach sugar alcohols well. So I don't work with products that contain those. So as long as you stick to your ethics, that you're only working with products that you truly do support and believe in, then really there's a lot you can do here with working with brands.
I see. Then they don't have to be supplements. Like I just gave supplement example because those are the ones that always comes up before us. But even the produce and such, I think it's actually a good idea. But
yeah,
it's
there's
just that they scare us so much. You do like
I know. Yeah, but what I can tell you is we've, within Master the Media, we've had a lot of practitioners. I wouldn't say even only dietitians, like different kinds of, healthcare practitioners who they're fully able to work with different products that they believe in. And sometimes it works out really well because sometimes, like, say a product is based in America and they are starting to build a presence in Canada and they want to get their word out more. And then they pay you in American dollars, which goes a lot further because of the exchange rate.
No, it makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Dorian.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I appreciate you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
So I guess where I am. So I am a national board certified health and wellness coach, and I also do public health education. I am affiliated with my local health department. So, that already has like a bunch of conflicts. I would be doing something on my own with my own brand. And like, that's what my goal is. As far as like a niche and like content that I create around with like public health education, it's really like helping families build real life health skills. I'm not a health education for the sake of health education person. I'm like, hey, this is what the research says, but also here's how you could apply that instead of just like, you should know this stuff. Good luck figuring out how to apply it. Like, I will bridge that gap for them. So I guess I'm really trying to like figure out how I could like turn that credibility into like brand partnerships with like family facing and wellness brands.
Yeah, that's okay. I love where you're going with this, and there's so many ways. And what's coming to mind is, so right now within Master of the Media, we have a few pediatricians who are partnering with brands in really fun ways. And what you're saying kind of reminds me of what they've been thinking about a lot lately is, they see patients, they want to you have resources to give to those families that, maybe are part of a brand partnership. And so there's a lot of really out of the box things that you can do. So of course, there's the traditional, there's always like, you think of social media and blog posts, right? When you think about working with brands. But what comes to mind when you're saying that is like maybe there's a handout that's really helpful about, pantry staples that are really affordable, like under $1, under $2, that you can have these families go by. And maybe you're working with like the Canned Food Alliance, and they could sponsor a handout that you could not only create for them to put onto their website, but you could have them printed and hand out to your patients. Maybe it's, and that for that, just so all of you guys know, like when you're talking to brands, sometimes, a lot of the times actually, there are things that would benefit the brand and would be a really cool partnership for you that the brand doesn't necessarily know about. And so that's actually what we teach a lot of in Master the Media, is how to strategize, how can I help this brand create something really cool that would benefit your patients or the population that you work with, and that would also create a really cool brand partnership that would bring you some additional income. And so what I've actually done with some brands is creating a download, and it could be an ebook, it could be a handout that they use when someone goes to their website, and you get that little pop-up that says like, put in your name to get this free guide, and that builds their email list, and that gives them the handout that you created that has your name on it. And based off of like how big the handout is and how long they're using what's called your name and likeness, which is your name on the handout itself to give it that credibility, that could pay, honestly, like I've created ebooks for brands just for the ebook itself without my name on it that paid $15,000. And so this is where you kind of like get to check off all your boxes of like helping people, helping the brand create something really cool, helping yourself create, a $15,000 brand partnership.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I feel like one of the things for me that's like challenging is because I'm not a clinician. So like, it's like that different like separation. So I'm like, what is it that I can do that is still within like my scope, that is still something that is beneficial? And like with, let's say, prevention and like what I do, I mean, it's a really bad example because it's winter, but like one of the things that I do talk about is like sun safety, albeit like you still can get sunburns in winter. So sunblock companies and and that's like something I could see with like doing education, but like also in a way that it is more appealing and like makes sense and is fun, dare I say. So like I've been trying to like create.
I love that. Yeah. That. And you don't have to be a clinician. And I'm not a clinician. I don't see patients. When I say something like helping, the people that you're talking to, literally the people you're talking to on social media, or the people you're talking to, on your website, if you have a blog, along those lines. But there's a lot of really cool opportunities here with what you're saying. And I'm thinking in my house, like we have this sunroom where there's literally like sun 24/7, and we put sunscreen on before we go sit in there during the day because it's, it's sunny, even though it's winter, like you said. But maybe you even give a talk to your community and have a sunscreen brand sponsor the talk, by you're talking about sun safety, what to look for in an effective sunscreen, and they give products to give in gift bags that you hand out to people. And that could be, starting at the very smallest amount would be like $500 it could go up to like $5,000, $7,000, depending on the type of event you're hosting. And that's a really cool way for the brand to get their name out there and you to kind of get everything, better known. Like maybe you end up doing something cool with like sunscreen, and then you do a food demo talking about how you get to eat your vitamin D and then get that, inside sun protection. And, there's a lot of different ways you can think about it that way.
Give me so much to think about. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And that's something where, I have this little QR code up here. So right now, when you enroll in Master the Media by end of day Wednesday, we're actually offering Brand Partnerships School for free. And in that, we have a list of like all of these different outside of the box deliverables and what the rates are for them. And that's something that that we're always helping our students with, is kind of coming up with those ideas. We coach them through, how to price out the proposals and how to, actually charge the brand what your time and expertise is worth.
Good
All
stuff. Good stuff. Thank you, Amy.
You're so welcome. All right, Emily.
Hello, thank you for doing
Hello.
this.
You're welcome.
I'll be super quick rundown. I'm a sports dietitian. My private practice is called the Injury RD. So I cater to athletes post major injury. So ACL is the
That's a
main
really
one.
great niche.
Thank you. So I have a group that focuses just on ACL. I have some resources where I deliver to just physical therapists and other sports medicine providers. And then I have kind of like weekly Substack newsletters that are giving either recipes or kind of Q&A and things like that. So my main question is kind of like, what are some ideas that you have other than like supplements and specific food brands?
Yeah, I mean, you have so many different arms of what you're doing, which I love. I mean, first of all, even in your newsletter. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but you can do sponsored newsletters. And I want someone to guess what a sponsored newsletter might pay. Emily, do you
I
want
can
to
tell
guess?
you, so I currently have about 500 people on my email list and an open rate of like 60 to 70%.
Okay, that's amazing. Like a good open rate is 15% for a newsletter. So yours is
Okay.
excellent.
Okay.
Okay, so sponsored newsletters are kind of this, I love them so much because they're like underrated and a lot of brands don't even think about them until you start having that conversation with the brand. They can pay like with your audience size, I'd say a minimum of like 1,500 to 2,000. Once you start building that newsletter size up, you know, like for Master the Media, we don't do very many sponsored newsletter blasts, but when we do, there's a high what's called opportunity cost because you're like every time we send out a newsletter, we get unsubscribes. And so, you know, there's kind of like, and also we're putting our name behind whatever product we're talking about. And so for Master the Media, like $7,000 is what we would charge for a sponsored newsletter. And that's kind of what you can build toward, like the more that you build your newsletter list. I think honestly with your open rate, like you could even go a little bit higher. But what you could do, there's a lot of different ways. Like say you're working with an organization and it could be like, you know, something that helps you heal after surgery. Like say Boron makes arnica. I don't know if that's something you recommend, but I'm just giving an example. You know, or maybe it's like you're talking about collagen supplements or something like that. You could even do a webinar for a brand and then use your newsletter list to invite people to attend that. And then that in combination is like a webinar. When you do that for a brand, you're helping them immensely by getting potential, like building their audience. You're using your list to invite your audience to join you, and then you're actually presenting, you know, and they might want to use the recording. You know, webinar could be anywhere between like $5,000 and $10,000. And then if you add on email promotion, it could be more. And so this is just an example of like all the different ways that you can use what you've built to work with brands, often in really out of the box ways. And so what happens is, like, what's a brand that you would love to work with based off of your, you know, of what you do?
Nordic Naturals is an omega-3.
That's a great example. So the process that we teach in Master the Media, and this is something where like we have all of the resources, but like what we would advise you to do is you reach out, you know, you touch base with the brand. But really one of the best ways to get their attention is like even mentioning them in an Instagram story or doing an interview for a media outlet where you're recommending their product and then using that to reach out to the brand. You would like put your pitch into a template that we provide, and then you would try and schedule what's called a discovery call with them, like just like you guys do with your clients, but this is a discovery call with the brand. And it's really just a conversation where you're kind of getting an assessment of, you know, what are their goals? Are they trying to reach the consumer audience? Are they trying to reach the healthcare professional audience? Are they, you know, what kind of deliverables are they thinking about working with? And this is also your opportunity to suggest all of these ideas that are not necessarily ideas that they would have thought of. And then from there, you're kind of, hopefully you get to the point of, oh yeah, what's your budget? Oh, it's $20,000. Let me create a proposal for you. And then how that works is, and this is something we help our students with all the time, is like you would create a proposal with different tiers and different deliverables. So maybe, their budget's $20,000, you'd give a $20,000 option, a $30,000 option, and a $50,000 option. And you would have us, you'd be like, Amy, can you take a look at this? And I'd be like, let's take, you're giving them too much for that price. Let's take some things out. Then you send it over to them, and then they'd be, hopefully they're like, yeah, package B looks great with the $30,000 option. And then you would create a contract, and we actually have a contract template that we would provide to you that protects you from them overusing the deliverables that you give to them. So like they're not using, say, the replay of the webinar for the next, 20 years. So that's kind of how that process works. And by suggesting those ideas to them that they probably wouldn't have thought of, that's a lot of times how they can actually create budget that they didn't necessarily already have allocated toward working with a healthcare professional.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to jump around a little bit because we just had a lot of dietitians ask questions. I want to have, I'm going to ask Dr. Bethany to ask her question.
Hi, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
For doing this. And it's really fun actually to hear everyone else's situations just to ideate. I love this idea and concept. And so I'm curious about pivoting. While I've had a few like affiliate or use my promo code, I'm looking at leveraging in the way that you are describing. I'm a little bit curious about like something that's kind of in process right now in conversation, this idea of joining like a medical advisory board, and maybe there's other roles. Is that something that you often see as also being compensated, or is that not compensated? It's just the other things that are deliverable. I'd love to brainstorm a little bit around those.
Yeah, let's talk about this, because I love that you're asking, should it be compensated? Absolutely. And it's just like, if you guys have done affiliate partnerships where you share about a product and you earn like $10 a share. Yeah, you're getting compensated, but every time you share, you're sharing in a way that you should get compensated several $1,000s for. And same thing with being on an advisory board. Will there be companies who ask you to be on an advisory board and, they don't want to pay? Of course, but what an advisory board is, and I mean, it can look a bunch of different ways, but at the very least, they're using your name and likeness. So your name, your image, your biography. A lot of times they're putting that on the web page for their company. And honestly, at a minimum, that would be $1,000 a month that you'd be earning, because they're promoting you as an expert who's backing their product. And then if you're adding on other deliverables, like say they want you to do presentations or they want you to do media interviews, like that's where, honestly, like I always say that number, $50,000 within 6 months, because it's incredibly attainable once you start adding on these deliverables that, brands maybe don't always compensate for, but they absolutely should. And we help you like have those conversations with the brands and have them realize, what your worth is, and how to, like, that's why we within Brand Partnership School, which we're offering for free right now if you enroll in Master the Media before end of day on Wednesday, we have like a whole list of deliverables, and here's what name and likeness should cost. Here's what something called whitelisting, which is if they want to use your name and image for advertising on social media, like all these different deliverables that you might not even know that they want to use your name and likeness for. Should add up to.
And that's like an industry standard at this point in time that you've had the experience to like.
Yeah, I mean, so we
create those sort of
I don't ever say like
negotiations.
you should charge X, but
Mhm.
the pricing guides are kind of like, in my experience, this is what I've charged and what I've seen other. And we have pricing guides for both dietitians and aligned healthcare professionals, and then also physicians and advanced care practitioners, so that your rates are kind of like, usually your rates are a little bit higher because it's just kind of, how the industry is. And then truly, like, that's where I see a lot of like mind blown when people join Master the Media and they're like, oh my gosh, I was charging $100 for this thing that, you say
Mhm.
I should ask $1,000 for. And it's not always that you end up getting paid that top rate, but sometimes brands pay more, and sometimes you're working with a really small company and they have a limited budget, and you
Mhm.
decide to give them a little bit of a price break, but it's not $100, maybe it's $900 instead of $1,000 for something.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. I love that you guys have so many questions. Samantha. But maybe she disappeared for a second.
I'm sorry, I'm back.
There you are.
Sorry, I had to feed my dog really quick.
Oh, no worries.
Okay, so my question, I guess I'll start with a little bit of background. So I work for I do like corporate wellness for a pretty large CPG food company. And I also freelance write for Eating Well. So I have access to that. So I wanted to know a little bit about like earned media. If somebody that I'm featuring in an article mentions a brand, or if I write about a brand, and if there's no conflict of interest or anything, am I able to kind of share that with the brand and then form a partnership or a relationship after that? But just talking a little bit about that, because I feel like if I feature a brand in an article, it's more like networking and relationship building versus me saying like, hey, I did this and now what? So if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a really great question. And so this, this goes for anyone, if you're writing for any editorial outlet, like say Everyday Health, or even if you have a blog on your own website. So I know we had talked previously about this. Like, I always recommend don't try and get paid for featuring a brand in the article that you're writing, because that's double dipping, and I already know that you know that. But the outlets don't like that. But yeah, what you can and what you should be doing is what you said, where say, what's a product you recently got sent?
Sent, I recently
got
got
information on?
True Story. It's like chicken and
Okay.
like deli meats.
Okay, so say you're writing a story about like, here's healthy proteins to eat, and you mention their product and your article gets published. That would be a really good way for you to send that article to them and be like, hey, I loved your product. And always encourage them to send you samples so that you can actually try the product and like potentially create some, Instagram story content with it as well, that you can tag the brand in and start a conversation with that way. But then you're showing them like you have this amazing media reach, even if you can't, once you're a paid partner with them, feature them in your article. You're showing them that you have the ability like to talk to like all other sorts of media outlets, because once you've written for an outlet like the one you're writing for, you can easily get featured, like you're attractive to get featured in, say, like HuffPost and New York Post and all of these other outlets. And so what happens is they might, then you can start that conversation about, what other types of media can you get us in? And then maybe you end up getting working with the brand for, 10 media interviews where you answer questions for any other outlet like Prevention or any article that you're being interviewed for, and you try and get their brand mentioned. You would disclose that to the reporter that you're working with. And that, that you could get paid for. It varies between like $1,000 and $2,000 a mention. I'm going to walk through the two different ways. One way would be for the brand to pitch you out to media, and they'd be like, hey, we have this amazing registered dietitian, Samantha, who writes this column for Eating Well. She's available for interviews about, why chicken is healthy. And you would get compensated per interview, which is when you're answering questions for an online or a print article. You would get compensated, like that would be about $1,000 an interview, no matter what, no matter if it gets published or not. And then you additionally get compensated a name and likeness fee for them pitching you out to media. So that would be probably around $750 a month. This is, again, something like we help you price out within Master the Media, because every partnership you have that you're talking to a brand is going to be a little bit different. So that would be example number one. Like, say they wanted to use your name and likeness for 6 months and do 10 interviews, like say that's like a $15,000 partnership. Example two would be you using your existing relationships. You'd be like, hey, I'm doing an interview for prevention. You would have a contract with True Story that every time you mention their product in an interview and it gets published, you would get a certain amount of money. That's usually higher. That's about $2,000 because it's conditionally based on the article getting published or not with the media mention. And then we'll talk about a third way too, which is you could use leverage TV as well. So there's something called a station fee, where a lot of local TV stations, and this is once you have usually you'd have a relationship with a TV station once you've been on the TV station a few times. And I know I'm like talking up here for you guys who are like, I've never been on TV. That's like one of the very first things that we help you with inside of Master the Media is you go through an exercise where you film a video, and our broadcast instructor, Alicia, she gives you feedback on on how to improve your media presence. She has her own TV show, so she's amazing. She's actually won an Emmy. And then you write a pitch to a producer, Alicia reviews it, and then you send it off to the producer. And that's how most of our students get their relationship built with the local TV station. So say fast forward, you're on the TV station a few times. You would ask the producer, hey, would I be able to talk about this brand True Story that I'm working with? And they might say like, sure, no problem. Or they might say, we have a station fee. And sometimes that fee is like $1,000, sometimes a little bit less. And you charge that back to the brand and then some. So like you would add your rate, like say you're wanting to make $2,000 from that segment, you would charge the brand $3,000. And sometimes you can include more than one brand in the same segment. So all this to say, there's a lot of different ways you can leverage what you're doing to develop partnerships with, media as like a main selling point of the partnership.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if you guys, as I'm talking, like if you have follow-up questions based off of what, Samantha just asked, or, what Dorian and I talked about a minute ago, like please feel free to jump in with those as well. And I do see some of you guys putting your questions in the chat. I cannot read as fast as you guys are typing. So just make sure to raise your hand and I'll call on as many of you as possible. Maria.
Thank you very much. Hi.
Hi.
So I have 2 avatars, and that's why I want to also get clear from the beginning. So I support youth athletes. So it was very interesting to see what Emily is doing. I do a mindset and nutrition program that helps them perform better. So sometimes I call myself nutrition and mindset coach. Sometimes I call it peak performance coach. And I kind of support the whole family, but I'm focused on the athlete. So we meet 2 or 3 times a month. With one-on-one calls mostly, and some workshops and webinars sometimes. But I'm also venturing more and more into wanting to support the parent of the youth athlete, because they're winging it a lot of times and they're doing the best they can and they're messing up. And even for me, my husband and I were both Olympians, and that doesn't mean we don't struggle making decisions for our kids in sport. So it's, and I'm hosting a summit right now, 21 days. I'm on day 15 with an expert each day. And it's called Thriving Youth Athletes. Let's give parents the blueprint. And it's really good. So I have a lot of people registered, like 650. I'm dropping an interview every day. And I'm wondering, to get these brand partnerships? Because I love your question. I'm always recommending Justin's Dave's Killer Bread. That's it. Sargento, the Balance Breaks. I mean, I have a whole list of products that I already recommend and endorse all the time. So kind of like, okay, do I cater to the athlete or to the family or all, or for the sake of the brand, it doesn't really matter. Plus I don't have a big social media following, so I can't say like, a million people see my reels or anything like that. So what's your advice?
And I was muted. I was like talking. I was like, no one can hear me. So that's a great question. Let's backtrack a little bit. So first things first, I want to explain, if not everyone knows what avatar is. That's ideal customer avatars who you're talking to online. Are they male? Are they female? Are they 20 years old? Are they 40 years old? Are they educated? How much money do they spend on groceries? So both your niche and your avatar are the very first things we actually help you with inside of Master the Media. Is our marketing instructor, Jonathan. He's marketed 75 best-selling books, and he goes back and forth with you until your avatar and your niche are really firmed up. To your actual question, most people who work with minors end up, their avatar is the parent. And that's not to say you're not speaking to the youth, but the person who's, making the decisions for that family, deciding, what they're spending their money on, deciding to hire you, that is the parent. And so it's kind of, that's what we would help you like super define and figure out, like, is your avatar a 40-year-old mom who has or I guess, no, we nix that. Is your avatar like the mother of, a 15-year-old teen athlete who has, who's a gymnast, who has, goals to be in the Olympics. And then from there, it's kind of like what we have as our kind of, here's how we figure out your niche. One of those steps is creating a survey of your audience and, figuring out like, okay, where do you spend your time online? How much money do you have to spend, on this? How many other children are in the family? How, like, kind of asking all those questions. Do both parents work? Is one parent, available to take the kid back and forth to sessions? Do they have to be virtual? Can they be in person? And you're kind of starting from that point. Then when you get to and that's who you're talking to. I say online, but it's really like not only in your social media, but, in your email communications and on your website. And then from there, when you're talking to brands, now here's I'm going to say cool and tricky part is sometimes your brand partnerships are not like 100% your niche. So it might be where, say there's a peanut butter company like Justin's, and they want to get their product known more to athletes, and maybe they're not necessarily talking to teen athletes, but, that would be a fit because you have this incredible background and you help this audience. So like another example, we have a student, Katie Hadley, and she's earned over $150,000 in brand partnerships so far within Master the Media. And her niche is gut health, but she's a plant-based dietitian. And so some of the partnerships she does are with gut health supplements. Some of the partnerships she does are with plant health companies like Impossible Foods. Some of the partnerships overlap. Maybe it's a vegan supplement that benefits gut health. And so that ends up kind of happening where you figure out like you have your niche and here's the main thing that you do, but there's other facets of you. Like there's what you personally eat for breakfast, there's what your kids eat. Like there's all of these different things that make you an attractive healthcare professional to work with that you can leverage when you're talking to brands.
Okay, thank you. So does this all apply? Like you just said blog posts, you said healthy tacos, you said board of directors, like it's just a lot, right?
Yeah. So I know that I've thrown a lot of ideas at you guys. You don't like, I would say, take a deep breath, because it's not like I'm telling you like run with all of these. What usually happens, let me kind of paint the picture of what this actually looks like, because it's a lot more doable than you might think. So within Master the Media, we have relationships with like thousands of brands. And so they actually come to us every week. Like we just had Love One today, which is avocados. And they said, you know, we need this type of expert. They actually wanted a non-dietitian expert at this time, and someone who was Latina as well, like two different types of experts. And so what happens is they asked us, like, who do you have? And we open that up to our students. Anyone who's interested, we send their information along to the brand. And a lot of times the brand will work with a couple of different experts. If they don't choose you this time, they keep your name on tap for, 6 months or 2 months down the road. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times we're opening up your minds to, there's all of these things you can do with a brand. Realistically, the first few partnerships you do are probably the ones that we hand deliver to you, because it's just easier. And, we have there's a supplement company, for instance, that they've worked with probably like 12 different experts that we have. And anytime we get a new expert, they want to have that list. And they do a lot of advisory board work where they pay the experts to sit on their advisory board and do some media interviews. So all that to say, from there, like once you get your first partnership or two from the opportunities that we directly connect you with, that's when you would use the list of contacts that we provide in Brand Partnership School, which is free right now when you enroll in Master the Media before end of day on Wednesday. And then you'd start pitching those brands for those other partnerships.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to jump around a little to Elaine.
Thank you so much. I'm watching the time tick and thinking, oh, gee, I have to go to another meeting soon. So I'm toward the end of my career, but it's been amazing. I've written 25 books. I had a syndicated column called The Recipe Doctor for 10 years. I even did a pilot for a cooking show at one point, but they wanted a racial minority, and clearly that wasn't me back in the day. So I've done just a lot of really fun things, but and I've done brand partnerships throughout my career here and there. I've always had another job, so it's kind of like as time permit. But at this point, it just seems like, my question is, are there opportunities still at this moment for people over 60, for people who are focused on aging well? Is that a niche, that's up and coming or whatever? Because whenever I go to conferences and things like that, and I hear the marketing people speak, it's always about Gen Z, or millennials. And I'm like, but the baby boomers have the time, hopefully the money and the need, with all of these conditions. And if healthy aging is a focus, clearly, you want to be part of that group,
So I love that you're asking this, and your experience is awesome. The answer is yes. I can't tell you how many times I have this conversation, probably every week, with really great experts like yourself who ask this question. And we actually work with quite a few of them within Master the Media. We have, I'd say, several dietitians, physicians who are kind of in your bubble. There's a lot of aging well is really sexy right now. And it's in a lot of different ways, right? Like there's the kind of how to just literally live to 100, how to have a really smooth sailing menopause, how to, even have babies later in life. Guys, I'm 44 and I just had a baby. So just putting that out there. So there's a lot, how to think about the next chapter of your life, what you should plan ahead for in terms of, who you want to take care of you when you get to that older age. We had one expert we work with, and she focuses on helping the older generation like navigate like what things should they have in their home so they don't fall and like break their hip and never get out of bed again. So there's a million different ways that you can take this aging well idea, but there's so many opportunities right now for you.
Because as somebody who is almost 65, I'll just put it out there. Although my girls keep me young, that's my line. But my generation, I mean, some of us, I think we enjoy watching younger people on social media and whatnot. But sometimes, especially if it's a topic around, it's kind of like if there's a topic on weight loss and then you're looking at somebody who looks like they're naturally thin, if it falls differently, right? So if you're an older person, I mean, it's like if I'd rather hear somebody also like me, hopefully talking very authentically to me about that topic. So that's why, to me, I kind of started my Instagram. I don't know if it was before COVID. So right before COVID, because of those conversations with marketers, where I'm thinking who's targeting the boomers, and they go, yeah, not many people. I'm like, well, who better than a boomer, right? So I kind of started it to approach my population, and I think my following is an assortment, honestly. But I just talk about things, what's going on in my kitchen, and what's what am I working on? And it's usually, it kind of caters to people that are type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic, because a lot of the population is right now. But it also, I'm not gluten-free, but I do eat gluten-free often, and I look at recipes, and when I can call it out, I'll call it out. If it's, and I'm not plant-based primarily, but I enjoy plant-based. So I'm kind of the everything, I'm the omnivore kind of dietitian. But
honestly, the way you're talking, I think a podcast, like, have you thought of having a podcast? I think that would be
I keep having people tell me that. And I would love to, because it's, I have some, I'll tell you some of another project I'm working on later, but that could be, I think, really helpful to a lot of people right now. But I just wouldn't know where to start. You know what I mean? And would I want to find a sponsor and then have their background to help me with a podcast, or noting that I'm a baby boomer? So like, I'm good at the content piece, but the technicality piece might be a little bit.
So this is literally, we've helped, I can't even count at this point, a lot of Master the Media students get their podcasts off the ground and then figure out sponsorships. So the way it works, and this is like the super quick version, is you would start a podcast on your own, and we would walk you through that process. Like, I just started my own podcast last year. It's not as complicated as you think. A lot of times you end up working with a producer. We have a lot of connections where they're really reasonably priced. Then once you get to a certain point with your audience size, and if you have like at least a handful of episodes, you can create sponsorship packages. And brands are really interested in like sponsoring podcasts these days, because you can have the audio, you can have the video, you can have both. There's a lot of opportunity to have a whole episode about a product, or just like a quick advertisement in the middle or the beginning or the end of the podcast. And so like, we had even people come into Master the Media who have like a top 1 or 2% podcast, but never got a sponsor. And we help them figure out those packages where, it might be an annual sponsorship for $20,000 that includes like 3 episodes that the brand's sponsoring, but we help you figure that out. But step 1 really is getting started, because if you don't start, you can't get the sponsorships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I figured it's like, if you have to build it before they come.
But it's not as like I ripped off the Band-Aid last year. I literally launched my podcast in May. I had a baby in July. And, I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's pretty darn awesome. Like, that I get to talk to people every week, and there's brands interested in reaching that audience. And there's a lot of potential for not only making an impact, but also getting those sponsorships with brands.
Is your podcast, for example, weekly? And then how long is each episode?
It's weekly. The important thing with podcasting is to be consistent. So whether you're like, episodes are going to drop every other week or every week, maintaining that consistency. And my episodes range anywhere from like 12 minutes to an hour. And that's okay, because, like, I really, the beneficial thing about podcasting is like, it's more important to get on your podcast and talk to your people. And it could be for 5 or 10 minutes versus not showing up at all.
And is it usually released at a certain time? It's taped. I've been the guest of a lot of podcasts, so that's been fun for me to kind of see how each podcast is different. But it looks like, at least the ones I've been on, you film it and then it's in editing and it comes out like 4 weeks later or something like that.
Yeah. So the way my podcast works is my production team, and I mean, I'm talking about like I think it costs like $125 an episode to produce. It's not very much. I record it on Friday. I hand it over to them. They have it edited and released on Tuesday. So it's every Tuesday. So we have a schedule, but it's not like a crazy schedule.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. Something I'll
And I would say, like, with any of this, like whether you're thinking about launching a podcast or you're thinking about working with the media or working with brands, I want everyone here just like get out of your head, because I have been in my own way a lot in the past, but like to get anywhere, you have to be okay with imperfection, because no one does anything perfectly. You have to be okay with like the messy version of it. Like, that's why literally last year I was like, if I don't launch my podcast now, I'm not going to launch it in 2025 at all. And sometimes you just have to, your version of this isn't perfect might be someone else's like 200%. And so that's really like a lot of, I'd say like I spend probably just as much time coaching our Master of the Media students on like all of like the getting out of your own way and not trying to be so perfect, as much as like helping figure out like what to charge brands and how to reach out and connect with brands.
Love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Kendra.
I can't figure out how to raise my, I'm so sorry. I can't figure out how to raise my hand. So if you have time to get back to me, just say Brooke and I will talk. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. What kind of a practitioner are you, Brooke?
I'm a certified eating disorder specialist and I work with college kids.
Okay. Awesome. We're going to do Kendra and then I'll come back to you. And I'm just, for you guys who are wondering why I'm jumping around, I'm just trying to hit on like different kinds of specialties. So I'm going to try and get to everyone who's raising their hand.
Hi, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm a therapist, so I have a group counseling practice, and I have 17 therapists that work for me. And I'm just trying to figure out, my sister actually went through your course.
Are you Vanessa's sister?
Yeah, because I probably look like her. We're twins.
Yeah, so. I was like, wait a
minute. So she's like, you need to sign in. Anyways, I just get kind of caught up in like, do I create my own brand for myself outside of my practice, or do I try to tie this to my practice? Obviously, it's nice to like bring more clients into the practice and be able to be like, our goal is to have more private pay because we take insurance too, and the challenges with that. So I'm just trying to figure that out if you had any feedback.
Yeah, so it's a great question. And I'd say the answer depends a little bit on your goals, but because your goal is to literally build your practice, what I would do is have everything kind of live on your practice homepage. And so even if, say, down the road, you end up having another website for you as a brand, as someone who works with brands, you could always have that as like a drop-down menu from your practice website. But for now, any interview that you do, like say you talk to Psychology Today, and you're going to get what's called a credit line. So they're going to, say, said Kendra Pensky, LCSW, owner of XYZ clinic. And that's going to link back to your website. And that's how a lot of patients are going to find you. Like I don't take any patients, but I have a completely full wait list for maybe someday in the future, I'll hire a dietitian to take on those patients. They find me from the articles I'm featured in. And so media is really like the best free advertising for you to get new patients in the door. And then Katie, who I mentioned a little bit ago, the one who she's landed 150,000 in brand partnerships, but she also has a private practice, has 2 dietitians working for her. And she's gotten, I'd say like probably half of her referrals come from the media that she's featured in.
Okay. Very cool. That's good to know. Yeah. Because I don't want to be like, I only have one client I see anymore, so I don't want to be in that realm of things, but I still want to, you know, capitalize in some way on being able to do those things.
Yeah. And then, I mean, what kinds of, just tell me like the first brand that pops into your mind that you're like, oh, that's really interesting to, you know, that you'd want to work with.
So like an interesting one is those drinks, the recess drinks. I'm like kind of obsessed with them. And I'm like, how can I like somehow get in with them, because it's like a healthy thing. It's non-alcoholic, and then it's supposed to be like calming and that kind of effect. And so that was like one that's of interest.
Yeah. So I like that idea. There's a lot of different ways that could work. But, you know, say you start getting featured in the media, and that's something that we also, like I mentioned, that we directly connect you with brands. We also directly connect you with media. So like even like Time Magazine, Eating Well. But, you know, say you're doing an interview on, you know, things that therapists do every day to stay healthy, and that's your go-to, and you give that quote to Everyday Health, it's featured, and then you could share that back with the brand. We give you a template to make it really easy for you to share that with them, and start a conversation. And the goal is always starting a conversation so that you can talk to the brand, have that, you know, call with them to find out, you know, what are their goals. Like maybe they actually want to help people, you know, in their mental health. And that's something that you could help them with, you know, with a free download on their website or a blog post or, you know, something on their social media. But step one is getting noticed by them and having that conversation start.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you guys, Kendra's sister, Vanessa, I don't even know, she's been a master of the media for a while, and she's done awesome. Like she's partnered with several different brands, and yeah.
I feel like she's always showing me some article she's like written something for. I'm like, oh my God.
Brooke, do you want to go next?
Yes, thank you. I was just kind of trying to figure out, I started playing around with social media, and I was on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, and just trying to figure out, like, there's no rhyme or reason to what people actually like or don't like. And so everything I've seen was like narrow down your population. And even though I work with college kids and performing artists, I feel like my population I'm the most interested in is women raising children who are trying to like be as healthy as they can, but are really kind of that anti-diet, or at least trying to be more size inclusive. And how do you raise children and model for them not hating their bodies? And so like that's what I want to do. And I'd set up some interviews, one with like a health at every size, perimenopause, dietitian and naturopath, one with an endocrinologist who's size inclusive, and then one with a personal trainer, and kind of just to talk to them about, okay, like, what would you say health-wise for this population, and had some different questions to ask. But I don't know how to I don't know how to get anybody to actually listen to it, I guess, because the things that people actually like are like a silly video of me and my kids doing a TikTok dance, but nothing actually like.
Yeah. So the first thing here is all the different social media platforms have a different audience. So TikTok, like, if I'm being honest, I don't even try very hard to connect with people there because my ideal audience does not live there. So the first step is figuring out where your ideal audience lives. And so that's like the very first thing that we help you with when you enroll in Master the Media, is figuring out, you know, A, what is your niche? B, who are you talking to within that niche? And then where do they live online? And so for me, for instance, like I'd say my ideal avatar lives in two different places, on Instagram and then also on Facebook, like within Facebook groups. So, and you know, the other important thing is like recognizing you can't be everywhere all at once in an impactful way. So that's the whole, like, I'm probably talking a lot about like not trying to be perfect, but that's like the other thing is, you know, you could do a really good job on one or two platforms. But if you try and do a good job on all of the different platforms, it's probably going to backfire. And then also figuring out like, where can you get traction, you know, working with brands. And some of it might be on social media, but also a good amount of it's probably going to be off of social media. I'll let you ask more questions because I just give a lot.
Yeah, no. So I was curious. The two things that came up for me was like doing what off of social media, and if each of those interviews that I mentioned, I think so I polled like 100 people and asked them, I just Facebook spammed people, and they said like 30 minutes or less is what they really are at a point they can listen to just with daily life and kids and whatnot. Where do you post those things so that people actually get the information? Or is it better to like pitch it to a brand for them to use the interviews? Like, what's the best thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a few different avenues you could go. I'd say what's working really well right now is podcasting. And I keep on bringing it up because it's the way that even like Google's search is working right now is it's a lot of it's AI driven instead of search engine optimization driven. What that means is like, you search for a keyword like, healthy snacks or whatever you're searching on Google. That doesn't always work the way it used to. But what is still working really well is searching on YouTube. So like YouTube still works pretty much as, yes, it's social media, but it's really search engine based. And so if you have a podcast that has video that also lives on YouTube, you can get a lot of traction that way, building your audience that way, and then potentially connecting with brands to have them sponsor those podcast episodes. Then because you're kind of getting your feet wet by being a presenter, you can have those conversations with brands to do other things that are kind of within that realm. Like maybe you do a webinar that lives on your YouTube about, being a good role model for your kids. But you have the really good ideas. The next step is figuring out where those ideas should live. And that's something that we really help you with a lot because, it's one thing to create content that is really you're passionate about, but we also want that content to get seen. And we do want you to be able to partner with brands to monetize that content.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Lily.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. So my question is there like brands who would appreciate like international backgrounds? I have Asian background and I have family also in Middle East, and I was always curious if I can find a niche in that type of like population, like audience.
So, what about that audience is really interesting to you besides the fact that it's international?
Yeah, for example, like I think about myself, and so for example, like I want to know like what kind of like food like available and healthy that has some Asian root or Middle Eastern root, and so I was just wondering if there are people who want to learn about like healthy eating or any cultural.
Yeah,
aspect.
absolutely. Is there a brand in mind that you can give me as an example?
For example, like green tea. Like there are some like companies that produce like green tea, like drinks or like soy products, for example.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna use an example. I'm gonna share my screen and just kind of walk you through some ideas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I just picked one of my favorite brands, which is Numi. So it's a green tea, right? So what I always like to walk our students through, and we do this a lot in our coaching calls, is kind of like, give me your example brand, and let's kind of find what they're missing and that they might need help with. And so, Lily, what is your specialty? Like, what kind of a physician are you?
I have a preventive medicine background, so I do like lots of like lifestyle medicine coaching, for, like, for example, like preventing diabetes, helping people lose weight, or yeah.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So yeah, tea is awesome
Thank
on
you.
so many levels. So first things first is we would kind of just see like, okay, what do they have on their website? I usually scroll to the top and the bottom. The top here in this case has just not like a ton of information. So like, here's the about. I'm actually curious what they have on their press page. So I'm just gonna kind of walk you through how we would ideate. So they could use a little bit more love here. So you can see like their last media features that they've added to their website were from 2023. So one idea would be to help them get featured in the media, because they definitely need some more recent media hits. But let's go and see what else they have on their website. So then I would look and see, do they have a healthcare practitioner section that has, science information? I don't see anything offhand, but let's just click around and see if they have anything like that. So these are all for like consumers in general. Yeah, so like what I would be looking for instance, let me give you, just find an example. You guys can all see this, right? Okay, so if I were to go to SunSuite's website, and I chose this one because I know they have some science on here. So they have some really cool information about the benefits of drinking prune juice. So this is something where, I think, let's go back to NUMI's website. If you could help, like this is something where you could pitch an idea to the brand to, help them create some health messaging for their website to talk about all the different benefits of green tea, because like that works really well within your niche. Then if we scroll down, pretty sure they have a healthcare practitioner section. So they used to anyway. Well, yeah, they used to have a healthcare practitioner section, which had some really cool science. But here's another, and that's something that you could potentially offer, is to create something called a healthcare practitioner toolkit, which talks about like, okay, here's all the science behind green tea and its benefits. And that's something that they could have for the healthcare practitioners like yourself, and then you could help them create that. That is something that, it, depending on if it's like 2 pages or 15 pages, it could easily be like a $10,000 or $12,000 project. But here you can see on the SunSuite page, like they have expert endorsements. They have Dawn here, who's a dietitian. They have recipes. These are all things that I don't see on NUMI's website. So those are also ideas that you could propose to them. And so what happens, and there's like a lot more we could get into, but like what happens is when you create these ideas for the brand, you want to get the attention of the brand. It's not necessarily that the brand's going to say, yes, let's do all of these ideas, these exact ideas, but you want them to say, oh my gosh, Lily has these amazing ideas. We want to work with her. And they might already have a project they need a physician for. Or they might say, we really like your idea of that healthcare practitioner toolkit, or of creating that health messaging for our website. And that's how you start to begin working for that brand. But the important thing is, it's not even just coming up with those ideas, it's getting the brand to open up your email and say, we really want to talk to Lily. And that's something we work really closely with our Master of the Media students on. Like we have 12 modules within Master of the Media, and each module goes through a different type of like pitch, like you're pitching a brand. And we actually review your pitch and give you feedback on it before you send it off to the brand, so that you have the best possible chance of that email getting opened and considered by the brand.
That sounds really exciting. Thank you so much. Great. Yeah.
You're welcome. All right, Barbara, good to see you here.
Hi there. So I work with moms and even their mothers who really want to keep their cultural foods the cultural traditions and family traditions alive through food. So it's the connection over food, and I focus on Mediterranean lifestyle. And so my question is twofold. Is again, I think this you can pretty much have answered it. Is if your social media following is small, getting the attention of sponsors, and do they want to work with you if your social media is so small? And then obviously building that up. And then the other aspect is I've focused more on Instagram than I'm realizing really, and I've known this, I just haven't done it, is YouTube is critical, because that's where people learn, what do you do when you don't really Google, you go to YouTube to learn how to do something, right? And so one of my areas for the year is to focus on more video and YouTube. So question, is there a magic number? I'm maybe I know the answer, but it would be, you're living it more actively than I've worked with media before. I've done interviews, I do speaking engagements on this topic, and I love it. But it's getting more sponsors to sponsor those talks or events.
Yeah. So I love this question. It's something I get asked pretty much like almost every day. And you're going to like the answer. So the answer is you could literally not be on social media. And that might sound like, that sounds way too good to be true, Amy, but let me walk you through like the why. And I'll give you an example to start. So we have a student, Caitlin, she's in Master the Media. She, at the time that she started Master the Media, she had an Instagram with literally one post on it. Within her first month in Master the Media, she landed a $15,000 brand partnership. And then within her first 5 or 6 months, she landed $50,000 in brand partnerships. Maybe by that time she had 2 social media posts on Instagram. But my point is she was working with brands who were, yes, if she had a big following, would they want to work with her on an Instagram collaboration? Maybe. But the things that she was doing with these brands had almost nothing to do with social media. So she actually we helped her come up with some pitches to this brand. It was the $50,000 partnership was with one brand. They're a small company, and she actually, one of their goals was getting in front of healthcare practitioners. So she helped them with a lot of consulting behind the scenes to connect with dietitians. She told them about Fency. They decided to have a booth at Fency. They decided to hire, she proposed that they hire her to be the expert at their booth. They did that. They actually ended up renewing her contract a whole year in advance for next year's Fency. They wanted to build a dietitian network. That's something that she helped them with. And so a lot of this behind the scenes work, it's called consulting. And some of you guys may have done consulting before. The difference in how we teach you to partner with brands for consulting is, instead of getting paid hey brand, I worked an hour, here's my invoice for an hour, based off of the project. So, in Lily's example of, maybe she's going to create messaging for Numi Tea's website. So she would actually price out that partnership. Okay, you want 750 words with at least 5 scientific studies, 2 rounds of revisions. You want my name as the expert on this. So the work itself, maybe she figures out that work might take me 10 hours of research and writing. And so the way that would work is, so the process that we teach in Master the Media is you take that number, times it by 20 to 30%, because it always takes longer than you think, times that by your hourly rate, which could be anywhere between $250 and $500. And all of a sudden you have this really substantial multi-thousands dollars consulting fee that is based off of your credentials and your abilities as a healthcare practitioner, and nothing to do with your social media following. Brands might also want to have you create content, maybe you're talking in a video about why you like their product, and they could use that in advertising on their social media platforms. Doesn't go on your platform, your endorsement is going on theirs. That video of you talking $5,000 just for the video, because that's a testimonial.
Mhm.
If they want to actually do advertising with it, that's called whitelisting, say $500 a month. So they want to use that video for, you know, say 6 months. We're talking $8,000 just for you literally talking in a video for 3 minutes, or not even 3 minutes. It's probably like 30 seconds. And that has nothing to do with your social media following.
Okay, that's good advice.
And then back to your YouTube question. I'm going to go back to my don't be perfect.
Yes.
Literally like create.
I know, I'll do 25 takes sometimes. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not 25, but close enough. And
yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't read, I don't use a teleprompter, but it's like, I didn't want it to flow. So, and the more you do things, obviously, you get into a groove.
Yeah. But I was going to say, like, just create, if you guys don't have a YouTube channel, create a channel. YouTube algorithm, yes, it's a social media platform. Your number of followers honestly don't really matter that much on YouTube. Like, I have 100 and something followers on my Master the Media channel. What matters is your views and your metrics. And that's what brands will care about when they're wanting to potentially sponsor a YouTube video. The other thing that is really cool, so say you work with a brand, you do a webinar, and that lives on your YouTube, and they advertise that webinar. Then you're getting all of that traffic coming to your YouTube, and you're building your numbers because of that brand partnership that you did, and you got paid for that partnership. So a lot of times what happens is you work with these brands and your following naturally grows as a result.
I have done presentations. I promoted them on mine, but my following is not as big. However, it's still a promotion is a promotion. So
yeah, and this is like a lot of what we help you brainstorm inside Master the Media is like how to be strategic about, okay, I'll give you an example. Like, I don't really have much of a TikTok following, but I have gotten paid to do social media posts on there, in the sense of like, I'll add it to a package. If I'm doing a reel for Instagram, I'll say, I will cross post this on YouTube Shorts and TikTok for an additional $1,000. And then I'm able to also say, like, I've done partnerships on YouTube and TikTok, and eventually that will grow into something I'm getting paid more for. But it's just kind of like figuring out that how to get the little bit to grow into a lot.
Okay. Yeah. And podcasts, I agree with you. And I love to do podcasts and interviews. I just, at this point, I think it's, well, it's, if the more you do, then people are attracted to you. Same thing like with YouTube. It's that getting started and the consistency, the time and effort, if you're doing that, you're not doing something else.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though, like, for podcasts, like, there's so many benefits. You can get the brands to sponsor, but also like on a business level, every time I've been on someone else's podcast, I have gotten a new Master the Media client, like at least one. So it's a really good tool for you guys. Like, if you're looking to build your clientele, that's how a lot of practitioners are able to build their clientele, is through podcasting.
And I think being what I had done a couple of years ago was being a guest on podcasts, and that was very good, just because it built momentum. All right, I don't want to take any more time.
Yeah, and that's something like you could start doing,
Yes, yes.
Well. Yeah. Megan.
Hi. Thank
Hi.
you for doing this.
You're so welcome.
So a little bit about me, and then I have my question. So I run the Nutrition Travel Exchange, where I send dietitians to tropical resorts for 7 nights at a time.
Wow.
And it's an exchange program where they do a couple hours a day of nutrition infused activities, and in exchange, then they plus one companion get all inclusive. And so it's a 2.5-year-old program. It's still new. I see a couple members on here. That's really cool. And so I work now in like hospitality and tourism and with dietitians. So I have a bunch of dietitian members, and then I have resorts. And from now that I follow you and your podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I need brands. Like so you helped me realize that there's a ton of opportunity for brand partnerships. So so my plan was to proceed with trying to get the media shout outs and like get mentioned in the media as a way to approach brands. And so I kind of went into today's time thinking, oh, I don't really have any questions because I'm, in the process of trying to get those media mentions. And I know at some point when I have more time, I want to be one of your students. But then right before we all logged on today, one of my resorts was like, hey, yeah, we're going to do that smoothie lab that you suggested as one of our classes we offer guests. But how about you bring the blenders? We need the blenders. And I'm going there next week, which I probably won't be able to finagle a brand partnership to get blenders for next week. But I thought, well, then that kind of speeds up my desire to partner and now that I've listened to you, I'm like, I should be paying for nothing. We do charcuterie classes. Why have I been paying for the supplies for that? Hormel should be somebody should be paying for that with a sponsored handout at the end.
Yeah.
We should be doing sponsored trainings for my dietitians before they go.
And I will tell you, there's, so I'll tell you a couple of things. One is, we run a Master the Media event every Fancy. Probably we spend somewhere between $35,000 and $55,000 on it. It's a big party. It's basically a wedding. All of that is paid for by sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you should not have to pay for anything.
No.
And there are organizations that run conferences with dietitians as an audience like yours, and they're charging sometimes they charge $30,000, $50,000, sometimes even $100,000 for them to come and give a presentation. So at the very least, yes, you should be getting free product, but you should also be getting actually compensated. By it. You can get sponsors to do so many things, not only give product, you can do experiences take them, to a farm that grows whatever you want to show them, or do that culinary experience, or even do a sponsored boat ride and serve their mocktails or cocktails on the boat. What I think would really help you is we have a list of literally 3,400 different brands, and I update it every quarter, so it's always growing. That comes in Brand Partnership School, which is an add-on to Master the Media, and Master the Media plus Brand Partnership School, you really get everything you need to work with brands. But you could take that list and, you need a blender. Hey, Ninja, you're on this contact list. Let me reach out to you, get those blenders. I think that would serve you really well. And you could even start with something like proof of concept, get sponsors. It's called in kind if you're just getting the product. Get them to give you, even stuff for gift bags. And then when you're looking to get paid sponsors, when you have more time, next go around, you can say oh, we had, this brand sponsor our gift bags. We were able to share it on our social media, and you can give them examples of what you can do for them. And so, yeah, I think there's so much potential for you. And that list of contacts that we're giving Brand Partnership School for free until end of day Wednesday when you enroll in Master the Media.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yes. So thank you. My question, one of my questions, or my main question is, while I'm building my list of media shout outs and et cetera that I need to appeal to a brand, have you had a student or known a dietitian or practitioner who is my bank of registered dietitians also a reason that a brand would want to partner? I can't say, hi, my name is Megan. I've been mentioned in parenting or blah, 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 blah. But I can say, hi, I'm Megan, and I can get your product into the hands, potentially building brand loyalty with 400 dietitians.
Yes, absolutely. And there's so many different ways, but I'll give you an example. So actually within Brand Partnership School, we have something called brand boxes. So every time a new student signs up, we give them a box that is packed with brand products. So right now it contains products from Country Life Vitamins, Now Foods, and the Egg Nutrition Center. All of those brands have paid to be sponsors in the boxes because they want to get in front of the experts that we send them out to. And also one of our criteria is we ask those brands, do you want to potentially hire these, experts as spokespeople? So for us, it has those two arms of like, we get it in front of the experts. These brands also potentially want to hire you guys. For you, I think something that would be really smart to say is like, you could figure out the estimated reach of the dietitian audience, like on social media. You could mention, that they've been featured in like the certain publications that they've been featured in. You could calculate the media reach of that. And like those two metrics, social media reach and media reach, are really attractive to brands. And that also goes for you as well, like down the road when you yourself want to partner with brands, and you can say my media reach is 70 million. That is like super, super, super attractive to a brand. And that could be, just FYI, like you getting featured in like 5 different media outlets, which is really attainable.
Right. Thank you. So you're saying that I could I put that in a media kit, that my reach with my dietitians, like their reach,
so
if I calculated their reach?
Because you're the first person who has this exact situation, but you're not the first dietitian or health professional who's come to us and said, I want to do an event. So what we've done in the past, like we had a Master of the Media student who her niche is marathon nutrition. And so she was doing talks to local organizations and not getting paid for them. So we helped her create a 1-page media kit with a few different packages. And then we kind of like did that proof of concept where she got paid like $500 from, I think like 4 or 5 different brands. So that's not nothing, like $2,000. And then she used that as leverage to get higher paying partnerships the next go around. And so we helped her kind of finesse those packages and figure out which brands would make sense to reach out to.
Okay. Just so I'm clear, I can calculate the reach that my dietitians combined have and quote that.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah. And we can, like something that's
crazy.
Like we have within Master of the Media, we have a private Facebook community. So like, this is the type of question that we would just kind of like walk you through how to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So excited for you. Okay. Michelle and then Amy.
Hi. So I am an eating disorder dietitian in private practice, and my goal has always been to do like half-time one-on-one clients, half-time creative work. So this media stuff. And I'm curious kind of how you even get to the point of having the conversations like the discovery call, like quoting someone for $2,000. I have an okay following on social media. I have like 9,000 on Instagram, 17,000 on TikTok. And I see accounts of my size doing partnerships and sponsorships. And I had one sponsored post in December and I got paid $500. So I was thrilled, but I'm like, okay, clearly I can do more. But
that was on Instagram or TikTok?
That was on, both Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. Then it was
at least $5,000 for all 3, like at least.
Oh, I mean, I don't know, because I quoted them 1,000, and they said the budget's 500, and I was wanting to get experience and have some. Oh, and so I've been doing a lot more outreach, sending out my media kit. And I, last summer I also was asked to speak about magnesium for recovery for a supplement brand, and I told them my rate for a 1-hour talk was 500, and they said no. So I'm like, okay, something's not matching up, because I'm not, 9 times out of 10, either I don't hear back when I pitch myself, or they say, oh, we don't have anything available. And I'm just having to like settle for less money if I even can get these, it's been partnership.
Okay, first of all, congrats on getting the partnerships you've had. Like I got paid $500 for my very first partnership, and I did this was years ago. I did an interview for a radio station. Found out, obviously that could be like $2,500 at least. But sometimes you just do want that proof of concept partnership, and you just be proud of that and not don't feel bad that you got paid less than maybe you could have negotiated. But yeah, this is a good question. So the way it works is, have you done any media interviews, like gotten featured in media?
Yes, like I subscribe to Haro, whatever it is. So I've gotten some through that and just met some people. So I've also been quoted online and like have that linked on my website and all the things.
Yeah, so that's like the very first thing that we would start with. Like if you haven't done that within our private Facebook community, like we have so we have a list of like 7,300 different brands and media that I like send out updates every week of like, we have this type of expert, this type of expert. So they'll come to us like Time, Eating Well, Everyday Health, like they'll come to us and say like, we wanted to interview an eating disorder specialist. So once you have those first few media interviews, done, which you already have, so you're already ahead of the game, then you utilize that. And what that means is like, when you're talking to a brand, like, hey, I am an eating disorder specialist who's been featured in Time and Newsweek and US News. And so what you're saying in like a 1-sentence summary is that you have a lot of impact and that you can reach a lot of people, which is what a brand wants. From there, there's two things. Like one is talking to brands who have budgets and like, how could you know that? That's something that we literally do that job for you. So every week, like we're sharing opportunities. Like this past week, we had Love One Today, which is avocados. Boar's Head, a supplement company, reach out to us and they wanted experts to work with. And so they're literally like, our requirement is they have to pay you at least $1,000 or we won't connect you. So sometimes though, they're like $10,000 budgets and we're directly, we've even had like a baby food company who had a $50,000 budget. So we're directly connecting you with those opportunities. And then it's literally, I don't want to say it's that easy, but it's that easy. The other thing that I see as like the biggest game changer a lot is your email pitch. So like, how are you pitching your subject line is usually the most important thing. And so that's something that we actually spend a lot of time workshopping. Like on our coaching calls every week, I'll help students with that. In our private Facebook group, a lot of times our students will be like, hey, can you take a quick look at this pitch? And usually the first thing I have them change is the subject line, because if your email doesn't get opened, your pitch could be amazing and it's not going to get read. So those are usually like the biggest game changers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Amy.
Hey, good evening. Thank you. This is eye-opening. So I am a geriatrics and lifestyle medicine physician.
I love your
and
specialty.
thank you, it's fun. And I am growing a dementia prevention practice, which is where all of this media is coming from. But I also work in health policy and health administration. I've done some media before, but under the umbrella of different board that I sit on, all dementia focused, and I've never been paid for anything because I didn't think it was possible. So I have two questions. The first one is, does having these overlapping credentials hurt when I step out and say, okay, I want to work with a brand about maybe a wearable that my patients have or something? And the second is, how would you determine the rate if there are parallel credentials, but not exactly where the brand wants the expert to be?
Yeah. Okay. First of all, your vast experience and expertise, it helps. It never is a negative. So I want, literally, I'd say quite a few we have a lot of physicians within Master the Media. Some of them are double board certified, some are triple board certified, some are quadruple board certified, some of them have one expertise. But my point is, all of those multiple expertises are always a benefit. I'll give you an example. We had one Dr. Kara, she is an allergist and immunologist. I think she's quadruple board certified, but she ended up, we directly connected her with this humidifier product that was looking for an allergist expertise. But the fact that she had those other credentials was just a bonus. So my point is, you have all the makings to be an amazing, an amazing person who works with brands. And then sometimes I will say the brand doesn't always know what they want. And, we've talked through the examples of like helping them figure out what they're missing, but that goes also for, sometimes the brand will tell us, hey, we're looking for a nutritionist. And so, I'll kind of respond and be like, can we give you names of not only nutritionists, but also registered dietitians and also physicians who specialize in nutrition? And they might come back and say, yes, we didn't even know that there were physicians who specialize in nutrition. And so that example can go with every single, your expertise with geriatrics, like they might not even know that that's a specialty. So if they come and ask like, hey, we want, an orthopedist to work with us wearables, and we say like, well, we actually have this great expert, Amy, she'd be the perfect partner for you. That is how a lot of our students end up getting partners, is because we're that intermediary kind of helping them realize what will actually benefit them.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's do Chris. Actually, we have two Crystals. We'll do Crystal with a C and then Crystal with a K.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Good, how are you?
Good. So I am a pediatrician, and I have been kind of watching some of your stuff and thinking through what I would be able to do. And I've been thinking about things like developmental toys, like Melissa and Doug, or some other. I mean, there's just so many things. Like we talk about all kinds of things. I recommend all kinds of different products in clinic, like from skincare products, CeraVe, Dove, etc. through. And I was just curious, kind of where to. I don't know that I'm quite ready to jump in quite yet, because I don't know. I don't know what my hesitation is, I guess, too.
Yeah. So I love this question. You have one of the niches, specialties, that there are just so many opportunities for. So I spent 4 years working as an editor at Parents and American Baby, and that was actually one of my first like aha moments of brands would come in, and it could be like baby food brands and also like toy products and like, mom, like Frida products, like, the newest thermometer. And they'd bring in a pediatrician who was getting paid by the brand to talk about the products. We have quite a few pediatricians we're working with right now on Master the Media. And I'd say like the products they've worked with have been really varied. A lot of food companies, actually, because a lot of them have nutrition interest. It could literally be anything, like you said, like what's the best shoe for an infant to wear? What's the best mattress cover? What clothing is made out of organic material? Like I have a 7-month-old, so this is like top of mind for me, but like, what, like literally, it could be anything.
Yeah, I think that kind of my niche, because on the side, I also do a little bit of parent coaching, more like for kids with ADHD and developmental stuff. And so I think that's what piqued my interest about like Melissa and Doug and some of the developmental toys and things like that. But I guess I'm kind of hung up that, you see a lot of commercials and marketing and stuff for foods and exercise stuff, but I mean, I guess I see like, I guess I don't think of them as developmental toys, right? Like Fisher Price and Barbie, but there are some developmental components to that too.
Yeah. I mean, the product that's coming to mind for me right now is Loveberry. So I don't know if you're familiar with them, but like we have they were actually made with like everything you're talking about in mind. Like their toys made out of wood. The person who created them, like she read like a 200-page like research paper on how kids should be playing for growth. So anyway, my point is like with your particular interest and passion, I think that there's some natural alignments that would be really cool. Like, and that's something that we could definitely help you like figure out, like, okay, first of all, what is the right product for you to pitch, how to get in touch with them, how to write that pitch and get in front of them, and kind of figuring out, you know, what can you offer them that they don't already have and already need. And that's something where, like, that's literally how I'd say a lot of our students end up getting their high paying brand partnerships, is kind of figuring out that pain point that the brand could benefit from, that they don't know about until you actually tell them that they need it.
And I guess from the mindset side of things, I can do a little bit of this on my own until I get enough money to cover the whole cost in one swoop. Like, I guess I'm kind of stuck there too.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely start. I would say that, you know, we've had people who go through Master the Media tell us, like, this would have taken me years to figure out on my own. Just to let you know, like, we do have some payment plans on our website that are as low as like $382 a month. So if anyone's interested in those and you can't find them, feel free to contact me and I'm happy to like send you a video of how to find those.
Yeah, I did see them on there.
Yeah. I know it's scary to get started, but I also will say most of our biggest success stories are the one, like the people, you know, like, I wouldn't even say biggest, just like the most, like, they just went with it. Like Katie, I shared her story of earning like $150,000 in brand partnerships. And I asked her, what is your secret? And she's like, I literally just told you, like, did what you guys told me to do. And so part of it's just like, if you just trust the process, like it really works. And you actually like have an expertise where there are so many opportunities. And I think it would be, I don't want to say easy, but I think it would be fairly easy for you to land partnerships.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I will let you go on to someone else.
Okay. Crystal with a K.
Yes, Crystal with a K. Thank you, Amy. I've been learning quite a bit today, and you really opened my eyes into all the different opportunities, because I have laid like a pretty good groundwork. I have 29,000 followers on Instagram. I have a podcast, and I've been mentioned in the media. So I feel like I have this groundwork, but I'm not sure what to do with it. And I'm not super interested in like pitching products. And so I really enjoyed hearing these opportunities of like consulting or speaking engagements. And I guess my question is, how successful have you seen people that are just sticking to one form of working with brands? Because you said I'm more interested in maybe speaking engagements, doing consulting work, rather than really using social media to pitch a product or something like that.
So I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to give a but. So you can absolutely be very successful doing one of those things. So one of the, like within Master the Media, we have you try everything out just to see if you like it. Because sometimes you're surprised. Like, I thought I hated doing TV. Like, I did it in journalism school and I was like, oh, this is torture. And then I just got thrown into it in one of my jobs. They were like, you're going to be on CBS, like national CBS tomorrow. And when I actually did it, I was like, this is amazing. So we have you go through exercises where you do broadcast, like you do TV, you do writing, you do online and print media interviews, just to see what you like. And then you can decide, I love all of this, I hate all, everything but this one thing. And then there's kind of a natural evolution of, so like what I have enjoyed doing changes like every few years. Like, I went through a period where all I wanted to do was create recipes for brands and take pictures of them. And I took food photography classes, and like, that's how I made most of my money for a long time. And then all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I want something different. And I started doing more speaking and podcasting and going on TV more. And so you might naturally find like you're working with a brand and they're like, yeah, we want to do a webinar, we want to do a speaking engagement, or have you be at our Fancy booth answering questions. And then you're naturally talking about something else, and you end up, doing whatever that other thing is for them and enjoying it. And sometimes like there's two arms of a project. Like I did a partnership for Panda Express where I wrote like a 70 something page research paper on all the different things that they could do to make their menu healthier. And that was totally behind the scenes. And then they hired me to be the in front of the scenes person talking to the media about all of those healthy changes. And so sometimes it makes sense for those two things to kind of be married together.
That's great. So like you would recommend maybe leveraging what you kind of have a strength in already as a way to get in with a brand, and then there could be other opportunities that open up.
And sometimes like what I push a lot of our students to do is to like, if you try something that you're like, oh, that's uncomfortable. Like, so for me, the very first time I did a video for Instagram, like where, you know, this was like back when everything was highly produced. And I was like, I don't know how to edit it. I don't know how to do the sound. I was like, if I pitch it to a brand, I have to figure it out. So I did. I pitched it to a brand and I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out the lighting. I'm going to figure out the sound. I'm going to figure out the editing. And then I was able to kind of be like, well, that was fun, but I think next time I'll hire people to help me with that. But these are where all of the ideas, so like in brand partnership school, we give you that list of like 60 plus ideas of different ways you can work with brands and like what those different price rates are. And that is a really good starting point for helping kind of, you know, envision what you can potentially do with these brands.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, you really think outside the box of ways to work with brands. Is very informative. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's really fun is the bottom line. Like when you, because I think a lot of people think like all I can do is social media, or I have to have a social media following. And you like, if you look at my social media account, like maybe one post like every 2 months is sponsored, but most of the work I do with brands is like totally for sponsored events, sponsored webinars, things like that. And so you can kind of, like I said, that changes every few years. And it probably is going to happen for you too, that it changes. And that's something too, where like, I know you guys are getting a lot of inspiration from hearing other people's questions tonight. And that's something where within Master the Media too, like a lot of the partnerships that our students end up doing is because like someone else had an idea to do a sponsored event or to create, you know, a research project for a brand. And then they had that idea to pitch that to a brand as well. Maria.
Hi.
Hi.
So I also was not planning to come in here with a question, but all these great conversations got me thinking. So I have no idea what I would think my niche would be. I never thought this was something that I would be able to get into, becoming like a media RD. I'm still a little new. I'm only 2 years post taking my RD exam. I feel like maybe I might be jumping in a little early. I don't know if you have any stats on like.
Nope, not too early. But I love the way you're thinking. So I myself started working with brands like while I was still in school to become a dietitian. We have a lot of students like within Master of the Media who are actually like students or doing their dietetic internships, and they start already working with brands. So you as like someone who's been a dietitian for 2 years, you absolutely have a lot of opportunity. I wouldn't worry so much about the niche, because that's literally the first thing that we help you figure out when you join Master of the Media. Is literally the first exercise we do with you is figuring out what is your niche. And it's not like, hey, Maria, what's your niche? It's like, you know, we have a whole module, so videos and worksheets on how to think through the process of like, you know, who do you enjoy helping? What brings you joy? Like, what's your expertise in? And it's not always what you think it's going to be in. Like, I worked at Weight Watchers for years as an editor before I became a dietitian. And I always thought I was going to be a weight management dietitian. And then I started practicing and I was like, this does not bring me any kind of joy. And I kind of just like figured out from there, like, I am actually passionate about talking about plant-based nutrition, and that, you know, is my niche. And then from there, it's like, I'm plant-based, but I don't, you know, I eat eggs, I eat fish. I just want to help people eat more plants. So that's like my more defined niche. And that's what we would help you figure out.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. And I would, you said to reach out to you about the video for the
Oh
payment.
yeah, let me
Where
just
should we-
share that now because we still have time. So if you're wanting to find the payment plan that I don't know why it's hidden, but it just is. So if you go to our checkout page, masterthemedia.co/course, and you'll see here if you enroll by end of day Wednesday, you get Brand Partnership School for free. So click the Enroll Now button, click Enroll Now. And then what you're going to want to do, so this is the checkout page. So scroll down, click on this one-time payment button, and then you scroll down from there and you'll click on Klarna.
Oh.
And that's where you can get these payment plans that are as low as $383 a month. Then the other way is if you want to go through PayPal, they also have this pay later option. It might not let me do it because I think I'm like logged into, this was always complicated to find, but a pop-up will pop up and it'll give you a similar option to either pay in full or to pay through a payment plan or to split the payment between multiple credit cards.
Got you. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if anyone's having a hard time with that, I'm happy to help you. I'm going to put my email in the chat and I'll make sure that you can get that price if you want to enroll in Master the Media. Okay, Tara.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm a registered dietitian. I've been a dietitian for a long time, over 25 years. But I had dropped this in the chat, but I don't think anybody saw it. But I work in telehealth for a fairly large brand, and they have a lot of statements around conflict of interest. So how does one navigate that when they want to work with other brands?
So that's a great question. So and you're not the first one to be in this predicament. So a lot of times, the people that we work with inside of Master the Media, like they'll either be working for a company like yours or a hospital or, even a brand. And I always recommend just being transparent with your employer. So, whether it's the HR person or if it's a smaller company, just like your manager, and just kind of having the conversation like, hey, I was wanting to start working with the media and start working with brands. What are the policies about that? Obviously, that your company has some policies, but it's likely that there might be certain categories that they're going to say you cannot work with other telehealth organizations. But maybe it's totally okay for you to work with supplements or, produce companies. There's a category of products called commodities, which are literally just like USA Pulses. They support eating pulses. Wild Blueberries in North America, they support eating wild blueberries. And a lot of these organizations, you're not even promoting a brand, you're just promoting a category of food. And that's a lot of times how, and there's literally like hundreds of them. There's like a beef commodity, there's, different organizations like that. And you can also position it as a really good thing for your company that you're being media trained. And if media opportunities come up, like you're ready to run and go on TV on their behalf.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And just to put one more thought in everyone's mind, we've actually had students who get their employer to reimburse them for taking Master the Media because it is media training.
Okay, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, for sure. But you definitely have a really some amazing experience that I think brands would really be interested in. Baron.
Hi, sorry I've been waiting so I'm also an entrepreneur. It's more of an early stage, but I help aspiring dietitians pass their licensing exam. So is there any way also for me as a new entrepreneur in this area, also do brand partnership, to understand maybe, I don't know, that also helps the dietitians, while we are helping them. I wanted to get an idea. It's not just for me as a private practice dietitian, but also as a dietitian who is an entrepreneur trying to help, especially internationally trained dietitians who pass their licensing exam in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many different ways that you can work with brands. Like if you're working, like Megan is also working with, dietitians as her avatar. Like if you can think of it, it's a possibility. Like maybe there's a planner that you recommend, or maybe a time management software. Like a lot of the ways to partner, like I really love the out of the box brands. And sometimes if you bring them a really exciting idea, they'll kind of just let you like run with it. Or maybe it's a walking treadmill to encourage movement while studying. Like there's just so many different ways that you can partner with brands. And I mentioned that list of 3,400 contacts. We have like not only food companies in there, we have fitness products, we even have like travel. So Megan, that would actually be really good for you. Like there's resorts in there, things like that. But like there's a lot of different kinds of brands.
No, actually, this sounds great. Then how often do you do that? By the way, sorry, like I know we're almost done, but I want Amy to ask question as well. It's more so I was just wondering because right now we are financially, like especially as a startup, we are very new and trying to get off financially as well. So like how often do you run these programs and such? I was wondering.
Yeah, so we leave enrollment open year round, but we close it when we reach capacity. So and right now is the only time that we're offering Brand Partnership School for free. So Brand Partnership School, we typically, it's a $5,000 value, but right now, when you enroll by end of day on Wednesday, we're giving it to everyone for free. I don't know when or if we're going to be doing that again.
Yeah, no, makes sense. It's just the timing,
Yeah.
I need to be able to pay rent just for now. Hopefully,
I know.
in the future, once we are more successful, I can also as well. Because it sounds actually really cool. I really like it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd love to have you join us. Amy, was your hand raised, or I saw that you took it down?
No, yeah, I just forgot to do it earlier. Thank you.
You're
Thanks so much.
welcome. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining tonight. This was really so much fun. And Vicki, I will answer your question in just a second. I'm happy to stay on an extra minute. But I just wanted to remind everyone, if you are wanting to join Master the Media, and I'd really love to work with you guys, you can use this QR code to join us. If you enroll in Master the Media by end of day Wednesday, which is 2 days from now, 48 hours, you get Brand Partnership School for free. Vicki.
Amy, yes. Hi. My area of expertise is slightly different than anything that I've heard today, unless I jumped on a little later. I work in mental and behavioral health.
Oh, I love that.
And with substance abuse recovery clients. And I'm just, as I listen to the conversation, like, where do I belong into brand partnership doing what I do? Because I do a lot of consulting for residential type of care, IOP, PHP, right? Mostly with young adults, definitely working with a lot of disordered eating and eating disorders that do play, into other diagnoses when it comes to mental and behavioral health. And I can't even wrap my mind around what could I be doing? What could I be who would I be possibly reaching out to, right? Or even enrolling into your school. And then how is that applicable to that area of expertise?
Oh, there's so many ways. So top of mind, there's probably some supplements and nutrition therapies that help support recovery. There's also literally activities. So it could be like a knitting subscription or a walking treadmill or anything that kind of just keeps you on, keeps your mind occupied to help recovery. Maybe it's a journal or an app that you use to journal. It could literally be anything. And that's where we not only help you brainstorm, but also kind of, in that list of contacts that's in Brand Partnership School, like I said, it's not just here's 3,400 food brands. It's food, it's fitness, it's travel, it's lifestyle. Maybe it's helping, maybe you're going to want to do something like Megan and run retreats where you're bringing people together and then getting those activities at the retreat sponsored by brands.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. I'll say I have time till Wednesday to think about it. Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, everybody. Well, this was so much fun. I've really enjoyed spending the last 2 hours with you. And just remember to get Brand Partnership School for free. Use this QR code to enroll in Master the Media, and I'll see you inside Master the Media. Good night, everybody.